So for this video though, I want to talk about making the world feel real. Now that is a huge subject, and I could probably talk to a person for 2-3 hours at least about how to make the world feel real, how my experience on making the world feel real. And as much as I would love to say a ton of stuff, I think I'm going to do this in kind of a mini series. And what we're going to do is I'm going to start with random encounters. And the reason I'm starting with random encounters is because, again, the reason half I'm making this series is for my friend, well, my girlfriend's sister, Krista, who's now becoming a new DM. And so I figured this would be good tips for her, and I feel this is a good tip for new DMs. This is not what this channel is pointed at, for new DMs and newer players. Now, a lot of the other things I want to talk about are stuff like politics, making the world like nice and vibrant and full and such. And a lot of these things don't really matter to a party who's like 3rd level. When you get above 5th level, then we need to kind of start talking about some of these things, but I don't think that's going to be an issue quite yet for anyone who's watching these videos and has been inspired to start a D&D group, so I think I can get away with kind of saying, let's just talk about random encounters, because these are more kind of prevalent to a party starting off when they're lower levels, because what random encounters do is they make the world feel real by making the world dangerous. Now, you can go into the book, and there's like charts for random encounters and stuff like that, and I've used them before, but I never really liked them. The system I use, I stole from this guy, Colville, who I've talked about a ton of time again. I'll try remember to put his stuff in, as I'm going to have to already like edit all this stuff and have it put it on my laptop to edit everything. When I upload there, I'll make sure I put the link in the description that you guys can see his video on random encounters, and you'll see I stole the system basically right from him. And all I do is I have my players roll a d12. Now, when I first started off, I would have my players roll a d12 for basically every day, and sometimes even every night. Now, that could be a lot excessive, because sometimes these players would be traveling for like a week, and as such, they'd be rolling maybe, let's say, 2 dice a day. That's 14 d12s they're going to have to roll. Eventually, they're going to get an encounter. And that was kind of boring, and really kind of drug on, and I don't think it's a good idea. And let me note the fact that I didn't start this off when I first started being a DM. I didn't start doing this until, say about the beginning of the year. So maybe even slightly earlier than that. I mean, most of my players were already higher levels, and so they would be taking these bigger journeys. They'd be going to do more stuff. As such, they would be out for a week at times, no problem. And so rolling 14 d12s was just a hassle. And so what I started doing is I started just saying, okay, roll a single d12. Maybe I might have 2 if I knew it was going to be kind of a long or dangerous trek. I might say, hey, roll 2 d12s. And part of that is because when you're a lower level, you're going to get attacked more. And here's why. Because when you're a level, you look weaker. You don't have as many magic items. You aren't bristling with experience. You're a bunch of novices kind of wandering around the woods. Thus, animals and monsters particularly are going to say, they look tasty, and are going to more likely attack you. Also, so are robbers and bandits and such. But when your party's like 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th level, you guys are usually going on horses. You are armed to the teeth. You guys look like you could take on a small army. And bandits and monsters are going to say, nope, not worth my trouble. As such, I only roll a d12. And even then, if they get an encounter, I don't always make it a monster encounter. Sometimes they just roll an encounter and they run into people who they talk to. And it just makes the world feel real. It helps it kind of feel real. And now, how do I choose if they have an encounter? Well, I said they roll a d12, and then if they get an 11 or 12, they get an encounter. And the 11 to 12, I make that differentiation because, as Matt Colville will explain, I use 11 for kind of a hard encounter and 12 for a deadly encounter. Now, that's on the assumption that it's a monster fight, but if I don't expect the players to be fighting monsters, like if they're taking the road to this other town, I say, you know what, it might be bandits, but it also could just be you get an encounter in general and you're going to talk to this person. Now, I said the book has a bunch of charts, and I told you also that I don't use it. Now, what I do use instead is I use this great site. It's called goblinist.com. You just type in goblinist, boom, and it gives you this website, and it's awesome. As you can tell, well, you just basically say, hey, I have a player of this level, add it to the list. I need a player of this level, add it to the list. And you do that, and you kind of build up what level is your party. You can pick kind of how deadly do you want this encounter to be. And this runs off all the rules and stuff of the DM's guide, which my DM's guide is actually right down here, so I was kind of pointing to it. Which has, the experience. It tells you how to craft an encounter based on kind of difficulty level. And you can set it for a super easy encounter that the party should be able to clear out in like 5 minutes, a medium encounter where, yeah, it might take 10, 20 minutes, a hard encounter where they're going to actually take some damage, and a deadly encounter which could potentially be deadly. Someone could die from it potentially. Now I just use that. I set, set the parameters. You can kind of see what it's talking about. You can set how many, kind of the range of how many monsters you want involved in the fight. You might say, oh, I only want a couple monsters. You say, hey, minimum of 1 and max of 5. Or you might say, I want this to be kind of a horde battle. Minimum 5, maximum 20, which I think gets a little absurd at 20, but you can also set it for like seed monsters. So you might say, they're going to fight a dragon. What are some other monsters that might go great with the dragon? Well, you just select the dragon you want and boom, hit generate encounter, and it's wonderful. Check it out. That's what I use. I have it like saved as like a favorite on my internet browser on my phone. That way, if the guys get an encounter, I can just whip out my phone. Goblinist. Okay, enter the information real fast. I mean, within 2 minutes, I have an encounter ready to go. Now, one thing I do is every time I said that if it's 11, it's a hard encounter, and 12 a deadly encounter. And the reason I do it is because if it's usually a monster attacking, the monster is attacking on its own terms, and therefore it's more likely to retreat. When players go and attack monsters into layers, for instance, the monster has nowhere to go. If you attack a dragon in its lair, it's usually in a cave or a lake or something like that. It can't get away, so it's going to fight to the death. But a monster that's on its own terms, that's making the assault, also has the ability to run away. It's the same thing like an army attacking a bunch of people in a castle. The people in the castle have nowhere to go, so the army, they'll fight to the death. But the army that's assaulting the castle, they always have the option of saying, these guys in the castle, they're beating the crap out of us, let's get out of here. And they can go away. And I do that with the monsters. So typically what I'll do is I'll throw these massive monsters or these swarms of monsters, these challenging, these deadly encounters. But I don't want these encounters to actually kill my players. That sounds dramatic. That's not, I just want to kind of terrify them, show them the fact that there's monsters and this world is dangerous. And so what I'll do is I throw these powerful creatures at them, and when the creature reads bloodied, when it's at half health, it runs. As soon as it can, it runs. And typically my players know that, my players kind of realize that, and so they're like, okay, we just got to get this thing down, beat it up, and it'll run away. And that's what usually happens. But it gives them the sense that this world is dangerous and they need to be aware. So that's really all I think I can say about random encounters. Just D12 works great, and it's because there's a 1 in 6 chance that there'll be an encounter, which means there won't always be an encounter. And thus I think it's okay. I would say usually only roll a single D12 for maybe long journeys, and that's if you're of higher level. If they're of low level, typically they're only going to be walking maybe 2 or 3 days away to the next thing. In which case you might say, hey, roll 3 D12s. Now if they're following a road, if they're following someone that should be safe, you might say, hey, only roll 1. And it's up to DM discretion. How deadly is their world? How dangerous is the world? Is their world filled with monsters in every nook and cranny that are trying to kill you? I mean, is this Dark Souls? Or is this like, The Hobbit or Lord of the Rings or something like that, where they go these large expanses without running into any problems whatsoever? Before they run into, a Balrog or something like that, before stuff really hits the fan. But, and that's up to you, and you have to decide that, and you have to find out what works for you. But here's the kind of system I use. I recommend it. I think it works great. And again, I'll give Matt Colville's video so he can kind of better explain things. And the best thing you can do always is just try it out. See you next time, guys. Stay cool.